Good evening and welcome to this exciting and informative episode of The Pink Press. I'm your host, Melissa Deidre, and this is February Cancer Prevention Month, and I am bringing all things cancer prevention to you. You know, and I know that the Pink Press is all about advocating, educating, and empowering our listening audience. And today, our guest is Miss Janeen Bullard, and she's an environmental specialist. But that's a whole lot, Janeen. Thank you and welcome, Janeen.
Good evening, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
So I'm excited because I was doing a lot of reading, and the past couple of weeks, I had the opportunity to talk about cancer prevention. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, we always talk about, basically when it comes to cancer prevention, is the full 360, right? And we always talk about nutrition, and we talk about physical activity, but we don't really focus that much on environmental.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I need an environmentalist on the show. And so that's the reason why I want you here today, because I was on the World Health Organization website or the National Cancer Institute, anyway, one of those big websites. Mm-hmm. And I was reading about environmental factors, and it says that the evidence of cancer-related deaths, almost 25 to 30% are due to tobacco. As many as 30 to 35% are linked to diet. 15 to 20% are due to infections, and the remaining percentage are due to other factors like radiation, stress, physical activity, environmental pollutants, etc. And I'm like, because, we have so much going on in this Bahamas as it relates to environment. And we could talk about the large scale as well as we could talk about on a smaller scale, the individual in terms of, and my motto, my philosophy is be your own health advocate. If we could individually just train ourselves to be our own health advocate, we can make a big difference in the community. Yes?
Yes.
So let's talk basically, well, first of all, tell us a little bit about Janeen.
Oh, okay. Well, like you said, I'm an environmental specialist. I came about that a very interesting way. As a child, I grew up close to nature. I was on the boat a lot with my grandfather, and I actually wanted to be a fisherman. But my grandfather told me there's no way in the world you're going to stay on this boat and be a fisherman. You have to go to college. So went to college, got my bachelor's in marine biology, came back, played with dolphins for a while, and then I went off and did my master's in biology with a concentration in plant and soil science. Came back to Nassau, and I worked with dolphin encounters for a while again, and then I went into the Bahamas National Trust, and all of it kind of evolved from there. Wow. After a while with the trust, I ended up just being on my own, and so now I'm a consultant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So the idea of, did you grow up on the island?
No, I grew up in Nassau, which is surprising to most people.
Yes, especially when you say that you're on the boat a lot. Like, people in Nassau go on boats, like go fishing, really?
Yes. My grandfather was actually from Andros.
Okay.
And he was a sports fisherman. He had, he did charters. And we would be on the boat a lot. And he made sure that every holiday, every summer, he'd get all of his grandchildren and children together, and we'd take long trips out on the boat. So you knew how to go out on the boat, and you know how to fish. And well, some of the girls, not all of the girls, were divers. All of the boys were divers. Most of them were divers.
Do you dive?
Yeah, I do dive as well. So I started off like free diving, going down looking for conch and crawfish and all of that stuff, and I was like, I love the water and I wanted to fish, but I like that I was pushed into actually going into marine biology and then eventually the environment as well.
Okay, that's exciting. I like that, and a special shout out to all of the my BNT peeps that are out there, my conch diving friends. You know who you are. I don't need to say. Anything else, right? I know I'm going to get in trouble, so I
Yes,
won't
you
even,
will.
I won't at all call any names. So tell us a little bit about, what are environmental risk factors?
See, well, first of all, when you started talking, you talked about, some of the factors that lead up to health issues like cancer.
Right.
And one of the things that we do not think about is what is going on in our environment.
No.
And basically, environmental risk factors are just things within the environment that could cause an increase in the rate of illnesses. They can be things like you talked about smoke.
Yeah.
You talked about smoke. It can be solvents, things that we use to clean. Oh, one of my major pet peeves that we use so much here in the Bahamas are containers. We use styrofoam containers so
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
and they are filled with chemicals.
Yes, and I always tell people that, and we have a habit of putting the containers, the food, and
And when we put them in the microwave and that heat, when we start heating up those styrofoam containers, we go ahead and start releasing the chemicals that are in them, or the carcinogens.
Right.
The things that are in there, such as well, not necessarily just inside the styrofoam, but things like asbestos and carbon monoxide and everything else that are in the environment. It can be a chemical, it can be a gas, it can be anything that can actually affect our bodies.
Okay.
So these things, these carcinogens, these chemicals, these things that are that can actually harm us.
Right.
They get into our systems and they change our DNA.
Yeah.
So they go in there and they change our genes, and they make us more susceptible to changes to the for things like cancer and other illnesses as well.
Illnesses. Yeah, because I know. I mean, I saw in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago that they're actually putting is it 2020? I think it's 2020 because this is 2018 that they're looking at banning the styrofoam and the plastic bags.
Yes.
Which is huge.
Yeah,
and
awesome. It'll be awesome because it's something that is needed. We really, it's something that we don't think about. Right. I know when I was at Dolphin Encounters a lot, I told this story to kids a lot that they didn't even think about it genuinely. If you walking around or just driving around on a regular day in Nassau, and you see the wind. We have a little wind, and especially this season, we've had a lot more wind. And what usually happens, you see those plastic bags. They get caught up in the wind, and they're flying around, and we think, oh, they're not going to go anywhere. They end up in our oceans. They get in our coral reefs. Our animals are eating them, and these are animals that we are eating on a daily basis. Right. So they are getting into our food chain, which means they are getting into our system. Yeah. And we never really make the connection for things that we just do genuinely, generally. Right. And our, day-to-day lives and our overall health.
No, because I remember there was a time where me growing up, like, I don't recall us using styrofoam. I remembered, like, the paper plates. I remember the brown paper bags and the wax paper. Yeah. But I don't remember, like, styrofoam just came. And then, of course, growing up, because I was just joking with someone the other day, and I told him, I said, it's amazing kids today don't know anything about washing dishes. No. Because we are using the styrofoam for, you go out to eat, and they put your food in styrofoam. You go out to drink, they put your food in your cup, your hot tea, your cold water, everything goes in styrofoam. And like you said, you're using this 24/7. And you never stop and think, wow, should I really be using this styrofoam? Exactly. So this is a call to action, effective immediately.
Yes.
if we don't buy it and it just sits there on the shelf, because, I mean, we have to understand that styrofoam has a purpose, and the purpose really was for packaging. Yes. The purpose was for packaging. And we took it to a whole nother level because it's cheaper. And then, of course, could you imagine styrofoam and microwave together, like that just don't even sound right.
No,
That
no.
is a disaster waiting to happen long term. And we're feeding, and listen to me. I've been doing the food store tours at Fresh Market, and I know a lot of people think because on these tours I've been making reference to children a lot, kids a lot, because we're finding that kids, there are no screening guidelines as it relates to kids and cancer. But we have a lot of young adults that are developing cancer. And I always tell people cancer is not something that happens overnight.
Right.
So what you're feeding these kids now, 5, 10, 20 years from
Exactly.
now, they are going to be the next population of young adult cancer survivors. So we
Yeah.
literally need to reverse time, go back. Go back to old school and the way life used to be, where we were,
Yeah.
How many people today, and I think I'm going to do a poll on my Facebook page. The Pink Press 242 is the Facebook page. I want to know how many people today actually use the China, and everybody in this Bahamas has a China closet
Yes.
with dishes. You remember that?
Yes.
You only eat out the China
Exactly.
on special
On
occasions.
special occasions.
So we need to go back to eating out of our, and I mean, not even the China, but how many people have, and I'm guilty of it, because I have plates in my cupboard, but I go to the store and I purchase the paper plates. Right?
Oh,
I
no,
purchase the paper reusable ones.
Uh-huh.
I don't do the styrofoam.
Oh, okay.
I do the reusable paper ones, right? But now that I think about it, like, do you use the dishes in your...
Yes, I do.
Okay, whatever.
I have a teenager that's AKA the dishwasher.
See, well, I don't have that privilege. So, well, Madison is 9, so she
Yeah,
probably
she's
gets
getting to that stage
start
now.
washing dishes now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
she's getting to that
she
stage
needs
now.
some chores. Yeah, but you were about to say something.
Well, I was just about to reiterate what you said about, the plastic bags and the styrofoams and how we need to make that connection and then get back to the way we used to be, where we weren't using those things on a daily basis. When you go into the grocery stores, instead of getting the plastic bags, use reusable bags. BNT, Bahamas National Trust, Brief. I think even Bristol Cellars has the reusable bags
we have
now.
them too at Solomon's Fresh Market.
Exactly. Solomon's Fresh Market has them as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
You can get them. And to me, they're so much better than those little plastic bags
Yeah.
because you can put more things in the bags and you get, and everybody will try and make one trip from the car to the house
Yes.
with all of the groceries.
Yes.
And that's more feasible when you have those, big
And I agree
bags.
with you because I live in a condo and I have to go upstairs and elevator, and so having like 10 or 20 bags, it never works for me.
Exactly.
But I mean, and well, the plastic bags have added some convenience to life because a lot of people, and we were talking about this the other day actually, because a lot of people use them for, their household. Janeen is in here rolling her eyes at me, y'all. She's rolling her eyes, right? But they use it for, the garbage bags.
Yes.
And I mean, I think the biggest responsibility is, can we trust ourselves or train ourselves that we can dispose of it properly? And I know you go to the beach, and a lot of Bahamians go to the beach, especially on summertime holidays, and they pack everything up in these plastic bags and it ends up all over the place on the
Exactly.
beach. So you win that one.
Yeah, the trash. If you look at it, it
Yeah.
never stays actually in the
No,
bags.
no.
So you say, well, okay, well, I use them from my garbage, but they're
Yeah.
not durable enough to hold your garbage.
No, the little bathroom,
Yeah, the bathroom ones, they work in there, but when you go to the grocery store, you usually, oh gosh, one of my pet peeves. Like, we double our bags
Yes.
for every little thing.
Yeah.
Like, we may have 2 items in this one bag, but we double them.
Because you don't want the bag to burst.
Exactly. So the bags aren't sturdy at all. You might as well just get reusable bags one time. They last a very long time. You're saving the environment. You're saving your health. So, all these things are connected.
So another part of it is that we are going to take a break, and we will be right back, and we will continue on talking with environmental risk factors. And I'm your host, Melissa Dietrich, and before I go, I just need to thank my sponsors. I'd like to thank Bahamas Medical and Surgical Supplies Limited, I feel like Cash just like this is the Grammys. He played the music on me. Bahamas Surgical and Medical Supplies Limited. Bill Simmons Heavy Construction. And of course, Coleman Bahamas has gone, but we want to say a special thank you to Coleman Bahamas and the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Let's take it away.
Cancer is smart. It pushes us. We push back, challenging conventional thinking, finding smarter solutions. That's what makes Cancer Treatment Centers of America one of the leaders in precision cancer treatment, using tools like advanced genomic testing and immunotherapy to bring more options to our patients. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We're not just fighting cancer anymore. We're outsmarting it. Visit cancercenter.com/outsmart to learn more.
All right, welcome back to the Pink Press. I'm your host, Melissa Deidre, and saying a special thank you again to our sponsors, Bahamas Medical and Surgical Supplies Limited, Bill Simmons Construction and Heavy Equipment, and the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Our guest today is Miss Janeen Bullard, and she is an environmental specialist, and we are talking today about risk factors, and we were just talking about the whole styrofoam usage and the plastic bags that we get from the grocery store. And I had just asked Janeen if there are any other countries that actually that has actually banned the use of the plastic bags or the styrofoam already.
Yes, there are actually a lot of countries that have started either totally banning the use of those plastic grocery bags, or they've added taxes. So you actually have to pay for them. But I don't want us to think that we're not paying for those plastic bags. We think that they're free, but I'm pretty sure that is added on to our grocery bill in some way or form.
I'm sure
because they have to pay for it.
Yeah, because they have to bring it in.
Exactly.
They have to bring, because I mean, even the reusable bags aren't free.
No.
Because if you want the reusable bags, then you pay for it.
Yeah.
So are we being tricked that the taxes have already been added? I've never thought about that.
Exactly, we're being tricked. The price is already built in. You know, like all of these little mom and pop stores too. Even when they buy their grocery bags, when they do whatever your pricing is, you have to fight. That's a part of their overhead.
Yeah,
you know, if that overhead is taken away from the factor, exactly.
Oh God, that is just unbelievable. So how do you feel about? So let's talk a little bit more about air pollution, right?
Okay.
And what is it going to take to put in place? We have a lot of exhaust from the jitneys, and we are constantly inhaling that. And we know for a fact that diesel engines and the fumes have all been linked to lung cancer.
Yes. Now, it's very interesting because I just had a discussion with someone about 2 days ago, and we were talking about the emissions from, vehicles, like heavy equipment vehicles and the cars. And they seem to think that because we live in the Bahamas and we're so close to the ocean, all of that emissions are going to just go away.
With the minerals from the sea makes it
disappear. They disappear.
But people say that all the time.
About everything.
We live on this island, and we know that, God also lives here.
Yeah.
So, we're surrounded by water. So technically, like, is there a different atmosphere? Okay, this is a good conversation because we're asking dumb questions. But, it's we have to separate the myths from the facts now,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But Janeen, seriously, and only because you just say that, we say that crap all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's like when people throw their trash overboard, they think, okay, the ocean is just going to swallow up. No, it goes somewhere. Where does it go? It's still there. It's still affecting us.
Wow. So
the emissions from our vehicles, heavy equipment, from our buses, from our own personal vehicles,
right,
it is still within our atmosphere and is in our air, and we're breathing it. It doesn't go away immediately. And these are also part of the whole, climate change, and these are things that are affecting the greenhouse layer,
Yeah.
etc. So it hurts us in more ways than one. But we need to develop better programs because our vehicles, the emissions from our vehicles should not be at the level that we are now.
Wow.
That is a part of what vehicle inspection is about,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's supposed to be that if your car has smoke, the emissions, that you don't pass your inspection. But
Somehow they're still passing the. But also in certain countries, if your car is more than a certain
age,
yes. you're not supposed to be driving it as well.
Right. Recently, we've moved more towards that. When was it? It was couple of years ago when everybody was in a big uproar about when the age of the vehicle imports was changed. Because before you could bring in any age vehicle.
Yeah. And now a lot of people are also driving more of the Japanese cars and bringing them at they're like 10, 8 years old cars that they're bringing it.
Right. But I mean, which is a lot less than we were able to bring in before. People were bringing in older vehicles. And that's why the public was in such an uproar that, you're going to stop me from being able to bring in my vehicle. I can't afford a newer vehicle, but the newer vehicles are in better condition. And not only that, it's less emissions, and which means that you're hurting yourself less.
So my question is, do we have persons outside of road traffic or inspection that would be, she's sitting here like, no. That would be, I'm just saying, what can we then put in place to make sure? Because there's so many times, you're driving on the streets and, you have your glass up and you roll up under one of these jitneys and boom, you inhaling that crap for almost half a mile to a mile.
Exactly. Right now, we don't have those things in place, but this is where I think for a lot of things, we expect government and major private entities to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
And they necessarily can't do everything.
Yeah.
And we need to start taking personal responsibility for our actions. We need to make sure that our vehicles are serviced on time.
And this becomes be your own health advocate.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said earlier, be your own health advocate. And you have to realize that everything that you do in your daily life affects your health.
Yeah.
You may not make the connection, but
Yeah.
once you stop and think about it, all of these things are connected. So until we start making sure that we're taking responsibility for our own actions, we're servicing our vehicles, making sure that there are no emissions from our vehicles. We are not.
What about, let's talk about household items then. So what about, the stuff that we clean our houses with?
Oh, yes. The chemicals that we use in our homes are just as bad, because they contain a lot of chemicals. We're inhaling them.
Yeah.
So those are carcinogens again, that big word.
So let's talk. And I was just about to say, I feel like carcinogens like fructose and gluten is in everything.
Yes.
I feel like we're being trapped.
Yeah.
This is an invasion.
I mean, the thing about it is you cannot stop carcinogens from entering your body altogether. That's almost impossible.
So tell us what is a carcinogen for those persons?
Carcinogens are substances. They can be chemicals.
Okay.
They can be gases that are basically toxic.
Okay.
When we either come in contact with them, we inhale them, such as like tobacco smoke. You have asbestos.
Right.
There's radiation, from our microwave, from our cell phone, from x-rays.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. And those are things that we are exposed to It may not be that we're intentionally exposed to them. You may be exposed to them on your job. You know, air condition repairmen are exposed to those things on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
I mean,
things that you do that you come in contact with on your jobs, in your personal life, like the solvents and stuff that we use at home to
right.
do our cleaning.
The bleach and
Right.
the Ajax, and you create a bomb, and you have to walk out of the bathroom to catch your breath.
Exactly. Because they are now
The fumes,
toxic.
yeah, and you have to walk back in the bathroom with
Right.
a towel over your face just to clean the tub.
Right.
So,
Right. So those things that can be toxic when they interact with our body.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So that's what basically carcinogens are. Yeah.
So, what about too? I mean, is there some level of classifying? Because we are in contact with carcinogens basically all day. Is there something or somewhere or a tool where you are able to classify to say, well, no, this is a no, this we need to evacuate, or
There is a way. Are we doing it? Not necessarily. We do have testing for certain things here in the Bahamas.
okay,
But not on the level that we should be.
right?
I know that environmental health does testing on a regular basis. They do air, water. I'm not sure if they do the soil testing, but they do testing on a regular basis. I know with the issues that we're having with the the dump,
Yeah,
they do air quality testing,
Okay.
for instances like that, but it's not on a regular consistent basis.
Okay.
It becomes, if there's an issue, they'll go ahead and test,
Evacuate or test.
and test and decide what should be done at that point.
I think the most scary part of it for me is that, it keeps starting and stopping and starting and stopping. So technically, you think you might get a little break, but then it happens again. And it's always, I'm okay with now, but like 10, 20 years from now, like things develop, like you say, it changes your DNA. And, a cancer cell is just an abnormal cell growth, and
Right.
that cell starts growing, and you're trying to figure out, you go to the doctor, and, the doctor's like, are you a smoker? Because, a lot of cancers that are developing now are actually, persons are not smokers, but yet they're developing this
Yeah.
smoker cancer, So it's like 10, 20 years from now, the people that might live in that area, and, are we advocating enough to say, hey, because obviously there are tools that can be put in place that
Right.
can make us a whole lot a safer, healthier Bahamas, but technically we are not doing it. So that's the scary part about the air pollution with the chitney, the dump, and then of course people that burn stuff in their backyards.
Oh, and we're also having a growing issue of coal. They're burning,
really?
yeah, they're burning trees, mainly the castorine and the pine trees, in order to create coal.
Oh, in the Bahamas?
In the Bahamas,
Where
I
they-
have a friend where they had major issues with it was a whole operation going on right next door where they had the little where they could have cut down the trees, and they were cutting up the trees and burning for the coal, but it was affecting them and their kids. The kids were getting
Wow.
sick.
You should see my face.
Yeah, the kids were getting sick, and so we had to bring in the Ministry of Environment, and now we're creating protocols to help and deal with that, because before it was not something that we actually had to deal with. So now they've realized, okay, so we have to create protocols and policies to deal with issues like this.
Yeah. So carcinogens basically are everywhere. And I know because I'm often telling people about people who like to grill. And they are always talking about, do not grill your food until it's charred.
Yes.
Like, that is an absolute no-no. But, people are like, well, you're grilling, and I know persons that go out and they like get my chicken or my ribs extra crispy
Yeah.
on that grill because and make sure that's smoked good, and that is also not good. So we have so many risk factors out there.
Yeah, and it's funny because I never realized that when you grill, because growing up, you
Yeah,
grilling
you
was
grill
a
all the
regular
time.
thing, regular
Yep, every
thing.
weekend.
And you want that little burn mark.
Yeah.
outside. But I think it was when I did a cancer biology course, and they were like, no, grilling is not necessarily healthy. And I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But you can grill. It's just to what level that you grill. Don't
Yeah.
burn it because, again, you let off carcinogens.
And so charred food has actually been linked to colorectal, pancreatic, stomach, and breast cancers. And that is unbelievable because, like you said, we are grilling and there are so many risk factors we need to take into consideration. And we just basically need to revamp what's going on in our lives. And I will be right back with Janeen after this break.
Cancer is smart. It pushes us. We push back, challenging conventional thinking, finding smarter solutions. That's what makes Cancer Treatment Centers of America one of the leaders in precision cancer treatment, using tools like advanced genomic testing and immunotherapy to bring more options to our patients. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We're not just fighting cancer anymore. We're outsmarting it. Visit cancercenter.com/outsmart to learn more.
Welcome back. And this is, wow, it's amazing how we run out of time so quickly. We're coming up on the last segment of the Pink Press. And I'm your host, Melissa Deidre, and I'm here with Janeen Bullard. She's an environmental specialist, and we're talking about environmental factors and carcinogens and cancer risk. And we all know that you need to make major lifestyle changes. It's, a part of it is what we eat, but then too, a bigger part of it is, what is happening in our air, what's happening in our homes, what's happening with our cars,
everything that
everything that we do. And we could beat this. I am sure that we can beat this stupid cancer. We need to be a whole lot more mindful, and we need to be a lot more intentional when it comes to our health. And we are losing control slowly. Well, I wouldn't even say slowly because it's happening rather quickly, because we feel like we're running out of time. And because we're running out of time, we want to do things differently and find a quicker way to do things. And this microwave lifestyle is actually killing us in every area of our life, right down to we don't want to wash dishes anymore, so we're purchasing styrofoam stuff. We're not buying biodegradable grocery to throw out our trash. So we're using the plastic bags for everything. We don't want to take proper plastic bag items and packaging items to the beach. And so what's happening that, we're now discussing is that the plastic bags and all this stuff is killing off our reef. Our fish they're eating it. We know that it's a myth that just because we are surrounded by water doesn't mean that the minerals from the ocean is taking away the toxins in the air. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Basically, that's what it is.
I feel like at some point in my life, I might have believed that. I don't know. But I mean, you hear it so much,
Yeah. And I think all it is that we say those things in order to ease the personal responsibility off of ourselves. It's a good way to just, okay, if I do that, it's no big deal. It's not going to hurt me. It's not going to come back to haunt me. But it does.
And too, we've been told from generations ago about the healing properties of the ocean. So it's
Yeah.
miraculous.
It is miraculous, but if it's a dumping ground,
Yeah,
then
you're right.
what happens? It's no longer miraculous. We're taking something pristine and miraculous, like you say, and making it basically a dumping ground.
So let's talk about then, what can we do to avoid these things, and what can we put in place for ourselves, individuals, right? Because going after the government right now, that's going to be a huge task. And right now, we want everybody to be responsible, and we want a call to action individually.
Well, as individuals, we can do more.
Yeah.
That end of story. Yeah, we can talk about what the government has to do. They do have a responsibility to do certain things. But what are we doing in our households to make any changes? Are we recycling? We don't have major recycling programs here in the Bahamas, but we do have some. New Providence Community Church, they have a small recycling program.
Oh, I didn't know
How
that.
many people are going ahead and recycling their plastic containers and their glass bottles and everything else, and using that program? There's also a program, Cans for Kids, aluminum cans, our soda and juice cans. How many people recycle those and donate those to
So,
Cans
question:
for Kids?
when you do is the Cans for Kids where you donate and you get something back for donating, or they don't do that?
You don't know. They get something back, but it's a program that funds different activities for children in
Okay.
the community.
Okay.
So it's a charity.
Okay.
So you're actually helping the community when you do that.
Okay.
And it's not about what you get back, because
Yeah, I
you
know.
may not get the money back, but on a personal level, you become more healthy.
Yeah.
You're reducing the things that are going into our obviously overworked, overfilled landfill. Those fires are things that naturally happen because we have all of these different types of waste that are
Right.
sitting there and decomposing. And as they're decomposing, they're letting off gases. So
Right.
underneath the layer that we're seeing, they're letting off gases. And those gases are combustible.
Right.
So when those gases come together and everything happens, it's a flame. It starts a fire. So it's something that is going to continue to happen until that area is properly managed. And we can start by helping to properly manage that by doing things with inside our homes. We could be talking about styrofoams. Styrofoam is a lot cheaper, but you could spend a couple cents more and use the biodegradable
Right.
material.
Right.
Variety now has the biodegradable plates and bowls that can be used.
Right.
And they come in bulk.
Yeah.
So it's not as if, I can't use that. I don't have enough stuff for me.
Yeah.
When you go to some of these fast food places where, they have the styrofoam, take your own container. I know
Yeah.
when I worked at Bahamas National Trust, there was a big movement where in the morning when you go to the little shack to get your breakfast, you carry your container with you.
Right.
And I don't know if it's something that they still do, but I think it was like, if you're caught with a styrofoam container, then, you got to pay a little extra for
Right.
your styrofoam
Right,
container.
right.
You got to put it into the pot.
Right.
So making sure that we do little things in our daily lives that'll
Yeah.
make little changes. Carrying the reusable bags, something simple, but it makes a big impact.
I remember too. I went to the Family Island or something like that, and they were actually encouraging people to bring their own tumblers for their coffee.
Yes.
Because they weren't putting, they didn't even have
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that they had glasses or whatever. But if you wanted to take it out, you
Yeah.
had to bring your own tumbler.
Yeah.
So, maybe that is a good idea. And you have to remember too, even if you go to these places and you purchase food, when you go home, put it in a different container before
you
put
warm it up, yes.
Before you warm it up, or even before you put it in your refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you should be aware when you warm up your food in the microwave in the styrofoam, like the thing melts, and then you
Yeah.
go ahead and eat the food. So technically you're eating that styrofoam and the food together. And,
Yeah.
or even when you go sometimes to get your hot sausage and grits,
Just sausage.
sausage, I can't even say it. By the time you reach to the end of the little container,
Yeah.
you would notice that half of the container has melted already,
Yeah.
and you technically just ate all of that melted stuff.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
how do you think people would feel though? I mean, with coming to the place saying, "Miss, put my food in this container, please."
It's something that has to be done. Like,
I guess we just need to educate on the masses.
And then think about it too. For those people that have the breakfast stalls,
it will save them.
It will save
It won't
them
be no
money
overhead.
because they don't have to go ahead and purchase all of these containers in bulk.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so if you bring it, sometimes, because I know I try to use my reusable bags as much as possible. But sometimes if I don't have them in the car, I forget.
Right.
So then I tell them, okay, well, don't double my bags.
Right.
So I don't get as much groceries as I
Right,
want to at
right.
that time and I feel so guilty when I go.
Yeah.
And we need to start having that thinking naturally.
Yeah.
When I go to the grocery store and I don't have my bags, I'm just like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let that guilt kick in.
Like that,
Yes.
let that guilt
Yeah,
kick in
yeah.
so that we know that if we don't do certain things, that it's on a personal level that how these things are affecting us and they're affecting our health. You know, things that we're exposed to as children and teenagers, when we grow into adults, they start to manifest themselves.
yeah,
So the
definitely.
damage that is done to our DNA and our genetics as a child
Yep.
now starts to show.
Yep.
You know,
As we get
as we
older.
get
Yeah,
older, you may
yeah.
develop breast cancer, you may
Yeah.
develop leukemia
Yeah.
because you're exposed to certain things.
And you are absolutely right. And not only that, but we need to slow life down a little bit.
Yes.
We need to slow down and stop trying to continue with this microwavable. Like, I can't even explain it any other way. And we're technically training our kids, and they are the next generation.
Exactly.
And they are the ones that's going to be affected more than anything. So, raise them up right and let them know, hey, you are not supposed to be eating in this, or, you need to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
Stop trying to duck. We're out there working 16-hour days, not taking a break, and no time to cook. So we got to buy food all the time.
Yes.
We got to microwave all the time because you don't have an extra 10 or 20 minutes to put into cooking a dinner.
Right.
So you could get it done in the microwave for 5 minutes. In the long run,
Yeah,
that is a
certainly
disaster waiting to happen.
Yes, because
Yeah.
we're eating, God knows what we're eating when we eat out at a lot of these fast food places.
And the thing about it is, because in researching for this show and reading up on the carcinogens and chemicals, there are so many. There's so many carcinogens out there and chemicals and
we could sit here and talk about carcinogens all day.
It's in
long.
everything.
Yeah,
It's in,
there's
even
just-
right down to some soaps and
Yes.
lotions and nail polish and
Yeah,
formaldehyde
lipstick.
and lipstick. And,
Yeah, eyeliner.
but the thing that I always say is the body is fearfully and wonderfully made, and the body is supposed to be able to detox itself. But if you're not, and this is the health coach and Melissa kicking in now, and if you're not eating, if you're not moving, this physical activity is necessary, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a go hard physical activity, like you have to go to the gym and lift weights, or you have to go and be a part of this aerobics class. It could be as simple as walking.
Yeah.
Just put on your shoes and just walk. But if you're not boosting your immune system, if you're not feeding it quality food, if you're not drinking clean water, and most importantly, if you're not resting and sleeping, because, we sleep 4 hours a night and we think we're good, but the
Right.
body needs to heal. And
I have that problem right now.
What?
Oh, sleep is something that fails me all the time. But I
No.
try. I definitely try.
I've had clients that come to me and they're like, oh, Melissa, I'm not losing any weight. I'm not da-da-da-da-da. And one of the biggest things is because they're not sleeping. You're not allowing that cortisol level to go down
Yeah.
and the body to feel rested and renewed. We're tense and we are just on this stress mode all the time, and the
Yes.
inflammation and the cortisol and everything is skyrocketed.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's a disaster. You're like, I'm guilty, Melissa. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
I
I'm
know,
guilty.
and a lot of people are, but that's because, again, like you said, the stress of daily lives. But I've started making a conscious effort to stop,
Yeah.
to just stop and rest
Yeah.
and clear my mind,
Yeah.
and because I know it's something that's a major problem, and we have
Especially
to
as you
learn.
get older,
Yeah.
I'm not getting any younger, and I want to live to see my daughter
Mm-hmm.
to become an adult and take care of herself. And not only that, but I want my 3 scores and 10 as promised.
Yes, we all do.
I want my 3 scores and 10 as promised.
We all
And
do.
so if you are tuned in, I just want to say thank you for tuning in to the Pink Press. And I'm your host, Melissa Dietrich. And you can actually check us out on our Facebook page, the Pink Press 242. And you could leave a comment, or if you have a show idea that you want to talk about or you want to hear more about, you can just send me a message. Or if you would like to be a guest on the Pink Press or sponsor the Pink Press, you can let me know. And I think we're wrapping up in a little bit. And before we wrap up, I have some fun questions for you. First of all,
Oh,
I want to say
gosh.
thank you, Janeen, for coming
No problem.
and sharing. So question before we get to the quick question. So technically, as an environmental specialist, what do you do? Like,
Okay. So right now, currently, I'm doing a lot of environmental management. So I develop environmental impact assessments. So before a development can come in and get approvals to build, basically,
okay.
I have to go out and do an inventory of, what's in the terrestrial area, what plants are there, what type of habitats.
So you're walking
how-
through the bush?
Yeah. I walk through the bush. I go in the water. All of those stuff. So, yeah, I'm outdoors a lot. But I do
Wow.
those as well as the environmental management on construction projects.
Okay.
So when you have major projects that are going on, you have persons that are out there just making sure they don't do as much damage to the environment, how they can change some of their construction methods in order to basically have as limited effect as possible.
To the air? Like, is it...
Yeah, there's noise, air, to the biodiversity, like plants and animals, the habitats around our water table, which is another thing. We don't want to go ahead and destroy our water table because a lot of homes are still getting fresh water from there.
and what that is destroyed by how? By digging?
Digging, yeah, trenching, going into the water table,
Okay.
leaving it exposed. That way, chemicals and other things can get into the water table itself. Yeah.
Okay, see, we could have like an entire month of environmental factors.
Actually, we
going,
can.
risk factors going on.
Trust
So,
me, there are a
yeah.
lot of things that are connected to the environment, and research has shown that if you have a healthy environment, you tend to have healthier people,
Yeah.
so
We have
healthier
to work-
and happier people.
Yeah, we
you
have
know?
to work on making the Bahamas healthier, and the environment is a big part of it. We need to plant more trees. I saw they were
Yes.
cutting down the trees by Cable Beach the other day.
Oh,
That was interesting. Right there by
it depends on what kind of trees, though.
it
Is
was
the big casuarinas.
Yeah, I guess that's what
Okay,
they
no,
were.
they could go because
Okay, but why let them grow that big then if we don't need them?
we just wait until things just get out of control. That's how we do it. But those casuarina trees should have been gone a long time ago because those are what we call invasive alien species.
Okay.
So they're not native to the Bahamas.
Okay.
They've been here for a very long time.
I was about to say those trees are as big as the buildings out there.
Right. So they're naturalized basically, but they do more damage than good. you
Okay.
know. So those trees like that should be taken away. The casuarina trees, we got Brazilian pepper, things like the.
So who brought them here?
Now the casuarina trees were brought here. Oh, I can't remember the year, but I think it was like maybe early 1900s.
Okay.
And they were brought in order to use as firewood and for building.
Okay.
And they somehow just
Spread.
got out of control. They're originally from Australia.
Okay.
They're called Australian pine. But they have spread and they are everywhere. Florida here and Bahamas. And they're taking over our coastlines.
So it's a bad thing that they're taking?
It is a bad thing.
Like, are they causing...
people think, the casuarinas are along our coastlines and they help. No.
Yeah, we want shade.
No,
when we're on the beach.
we want shade, and that's what the casuarinas do. They may provide shade, but what they also do is because their root system is so shallow, they actually tend to break up
Okay.
the actual coastline,
Oh.
and so it's easier for it to erode away. So the
Okay.
wave action is eroding the coastline a lot faster than
Right.
say if you would have natural vegetation there like sea oats and persimmon and things like
Okay.
that.
Oh, wow.
So
There you go. You,
yeah,
you,
like
we
you
got
said,
some
we
extra.
like you said, we could have a whole week of just
Conversation,
environmental
yeah.
things that we can talk about. So
All right, so we are talking about environmental risk factors, and we want to most definitely say no to smoking. You want to take care of your air that's around you. Make sure get your car serviced on time. Get it checked out. Be careful with what you are cleaning your house with,
Yes.
and not only that, but you could replace all of the bleach and the Ajax and all them other stuff with vinegar and baking soda, tea tree oil, essential oils. To clean with, and especially if you have pets inside your house, that would be a better option. In terms of dietary choices, you would want to make sure, get your food that are organic or grow them yourself. If you can't purchase organic, you want to make sure when you purchase your meat, make sure that they're antibiotic free or hormone free. So make sure read your labels, please. I want to say a special thank you to our guest, Janeen, for coming in and sharing with us, and I'm sure that she will be back. So, fun questions right quick, Janeen. What book are you reading now?
Actually, what I'm reading now is I'm doing a course on resilience and climate change.
So you're doing homework now.
So I'm doing homework.
Classwork.
So I have no time for like
Leisurely
personal
reading.
leisure
Okay,
reading.
okay.
So, but I haven't. The next book I want to read, which is kind of, it's not like the best choice, I guess.
Okay, that's okay.
But I get what's her name? It's the new comedian. She has a new book out. Tiffany Haddish. I think it's The Black Unicorn.
Yes.
And then Gabrielle Union also has a book those two books
that you
I want to
read.
get and I want to read. But because I read and I write so much for work, it's kind of hard to fit in those personal reading time.
Yeah. Do you prefer the toilet paper over or under? You can't think about it.
I'm not particular, but
okay.
over.
As you get older, what are you becoming more and more afraid of?
That's interesting.
Okay, skip that one.
Yeah.
What's the title of the current chapter of your life?
Fabulous 40. Yes.
Fabulous 40.
Fabulous 40. I just turned 40 in January and I don't know. I'm loving it.
Okay. Yeah.
But besides all of the aches and pains that I've just recently started, my eyesight hasn't gotten bad yet, but like I get a little ache in my back and, my knees hurt and stuff like that.
So what lifestyle change have you been meaning to make for a while now?
My lifestyle change has been about my health.
Okay.
Recently, in the past couple of months, I've always been pretty active and I eat relatively healthy. Mm-hmm. But in the past couple of months, I've taken it up a notch. And
you're moving more.
Yeah, I'm
All
moving
right.
a whole lot more.
A whole lot more.
and I'm doing the Whole 30 program. I'm on that.
And a shout out to our Energy Fitness ladies, Regina
yes.
and the crew at Energy Fitness.
Yes, hi,
most
ladies.
definitely. So, thank you very much for coming and sharing with us today. And I'm your host, Melissa Deidre. And if you're trying to get in contact with me, you could check me out at the Pink Press 242 on Facebook or mellymajor@gmail.com. You can also come out to the Cancer Society support group on Thursday night at 5:30. We have support group meetings every Thursday night. The Cancer Society's monthly general meeting is the second Tuesday in the month. So by the time this show airs, because we're pre-recording, it would have already happened. But put that on your calendar. It might be recorded as well as it might not. The Pink Press is brought to you by Bahamas Medical and Surgical Supplies Limited, the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Bill Simmons Construction and Heavy Equipment. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Please be your own health advocate and also get screened Bahamas mammogram, colonoscopy, breast self-examination, pap smear, PSA. It's amazing that I can remember all this stuff right out of my head, right? We're going to kick cancer's butt. I hope I could say that. I don't know I never got any guidelines of what I could say and what I can't say. So we are going to wrap up, and I just want you to know that pink is an attitude and a lifestyle. Until we meet again.